Hello dear traders, stock markets closed in the black last week. Major US stock indexes looked at the best weekly performance since November 2020. The sentiment turned bullish following the Fed's key rate hike. The watchdog also vowed to take a more hawkish stance on monetary policy. Currently, investors are trying to figure out what happened. Was it a temporary rebound, or stocks would be able to start the long-term upward movements? Let's discuss all these scenarios. Last week, traders waited with a bated breath for the FOMC meeting. As widely expected, the central bank hiked the interest rate by 25 basis points. Jerome Powell hinted at 6 more increases during the year, although the regulator cut its GDP outlook. It confirmed that the time was ripe to start a monetary policy tightening cycle. The stock market showed a steady rise following this event, even though it was rather odd. Bullish sentiment has been subdued for some time due to the expectations of a monetary policy tightening, as well as the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Nevertheless, stocks were up. Apparently, pessimism in the market has either reached the bottom or it's very close to it. On Monday, the Fed chair said that the central bank could start increasing rates more aggressively. Powell also admitted the possibility of raising rates by half a percentage point rather than the standard quarter point increase. These statements somehow cooled the investors. Yet stocks continued to move up. The Dow Jones advanced by more than 5.5%. Its further rise is questionable as the equity market looks overheated. Weekly and monthly financial results of the leading companies included in the index remain negative. It may limit the upward potential of the index. Boeing shares fell by more than 5% after the news about the crash of a Boeing 737 airplane in southern China. Investigators are trying to identify the cause of the crash. This commercial plane is considered to be the safest aircraft ever made. Naturally, now its safety is under question. Moreover, the Dow incurred significant losses due to a drop in shares of a software developer, Salesforce.com, and Home Depot, a home improvement retailer. The weekly gain of the S&P 500 totaled more than 6%. Judging by the dynamic of this index, some analysts suggested that the crisis in Ukraine would soon end and everything would get back to normal. However, the situation is a little bit more complicated. Despite the previous significant growth, the S&P 500 is still below the psychologically important levels. If investors manage to push the S&P 500 above 4,500 points in the coming sessions, the index may finally break out of the correction phase. If so, the quotes are likely to approach 4,600 points within a week. After that, the index will have to deal with the more distant target levels. In 2 or 3 months, it may try to break through 4,800 points. By the end of the year, it could reach 5,000 points. In the meantime, the main task is to consolidate at the current levels. A sell-off and decline of the S&P 500 below the 4,400 points will be a strong bearish signal. As a result, there will be a high probability of a rapid decline. The high-tech NASDAQ also climbed higher last week. It jumped by more than 8%. However, its further rise is also foggy. Stocks included in the index are overbought. In the best-case scenario, investors will be able to keep prices at highs. Naturally, everything will depend on different factors that currently impact market sentiment. Investors are likely to continue evaluating comments of Fed policymakers. They priced in a quarter-point rate increase at each meeting. Now, there are reasons to factor in a 50 basis points rate hike. News on the war in Ukraine will remain in the limelight. By the end of this week, US President Joe Biden plans to travel to Europe for face-to-face conversations with the European leaders and NATO allies. He wants to discuss what to do next in response to Russia's aggression in Ukraine. The EU is considering a ban on the import of Russian oil, although it's more dependent on Russian oil than the United States. The latter has already introduced a ban on Russian energy commodities. Keep close tabs on the latest market news with InstaForex TV channel. Feel free to leave your feedback and see you soon.